This is Weather Scope.
Hey, very pleasant Thursday morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the Weather Channel. I'm Vivian Brown along with Bruce Edwards. It is 5 o'clock Eastern Time. Glad you joined us. We wake up to a few light rain showers over the northeast so far this morning, but the good news is that that system will be weakening, and it will perhaps just be a morning event.
Yeah, and actually the rain that does fall across parts around the nation's capital, it's needed rainfall. They're happy to see that. Wish we could see some of that in the southeast. Haven't seen much in a long, long time, so it stays very, very dry. But today is the 18th of September, and today was the premiere of a couple of great shows. You know.
Oh, boy.
Get Smart, remember that? Agent 99, Don Adams. Thank you. You know, talking into his shoe. That debuted on the state. And here's another one. Let's see, I can give you a hint.
The Addams Family.
Bingo. You got it. The Addams Family debuted today. Thank you, Thing. Let's take a look at the water vapor imagery. Yeah, indeed it is. Thank you, Viv, for that setup. I tell you, Milton Berle will love that one, too. Here it is, the wet weather moving east with the front. Very, very distinct. You see the dry air and the dark areas, dark shaded region moving through Missouri and the Tennessee Valley, pushing the front towards the coast. It'll begin to fall apart. What we have now, spits and drizzles from New England down to the mid-Atlantic, and that'll be about it. Although they should hang out in the Carolinas a little longer than we first anticipated, but then the front's just going to fall apart, and that'll be the end of that, so to speak. We can see the upper low back up into here, and again, that trough digging on through. There's your flow of moisture continuing in from the southwest, and a pretty strong upper level low here, pushing a system on inland. And eventually, it's going to spell some autumnal changes for us as we go through the next couple of days. So here's our fronts. One marching through the east, the other one here in the west. And as this system continues to slide on to the east, it'll be working its way on offshore. There are showers here. What we get this morning is about what you're going to keep. That'll be about it. It'll move on right on through, and high pressure build in. Nice day in the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley on tap for today. Looking pretty good. And even as you can see, the showers that we do have are sort of falling apart here a little bit. We see scattered rain across I-95 down East Main, Augusta, Portland, on down towards Portsmouth. And you get a little cluster around Beverly, Mass. Again, a little heavier here. Widely scattered down through Connecticut, New York City, spits and drizzles, and that's about all. A little closer look at the northeast quarter. Again, Boston, you get a nice little a shot of wet weather coming across within the next hour. Other than that, you know, again, spits, drizzles, Hudson Valley, nothing much here. You get around Philly, and there's a little bit more. And then around D.C. and Baltimore and the upper Chesapeake Bay, a little heavier amount of rain, but still, again, much needed rainfall. Just be careful on the roads as you head to work this morning. It's 66 right now in Boston, 72 New York, 70 in Philly. We cool down to 57 in Erie, 54 in Detroit, and in Saginaw, 51 Sault Ste. Marie. Pittsburgh checks in at 60. 70s dominate the deep south, as you'll note, with the exception of 68 Raleigh, Durham, and a rather steamy 81 degrees in Dallas, Fort Worth. Nashville, Atlanta, 73, Tampa, 75 this morning. Here's the front. Very, very inactive, though. On the tail end of the front, as you get into Arkansas, Oklahoma, and into right now, right on the Kansas-Missouri border, we're getting some showers and storms here. But really, much of this, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of punch associated with it. A few showers into the Carolinas, scattered on through the east. But areas of Georgia and Alabama could use some wet weather. Unfortunately, nada. I think since the big rains of Hurricane Danny came through the end of July, had about 1.5 inches of rain in Atlanta. That's from the end of July to here we are now sliding through the middle of September. So extremely dry weather prevails. Let's check out some radars. Here in the Piedmont, you see some showery weather east of Roanoke, either around Lynchburg, extend up towards Charlottesville, some showers, and up near Richmond, also to the D.C. area. And then working way back towards Charlotte, Hickory, Greensboro, you're picking up a little light rain, nothing heavy, but rain nonetheless. Over towards Anderson and Greenville, everything's sliding to the southeast. A lot of false echo return down here. Disregard that, and that is just garbage that we're getting early in the morning. Across Florida way, there are a few showers lurking offshore, a little thunderstorm here in Appalachia Bay, and some showers off Naples, but a lot of this over the land, again, is just some garbage. But as we mentioned, on the tail end of the front, eastern Oklahoma near Tulsa, back up towards Coffeyville, Kansas, up to Olathe, we see some showers here, and over towards Little Rock. that's beginning to develop, and so a few of these could be on the strong side later on today. High pressure in control right over the nation's heartland. Gorgeous day in the lakes today. A little fog. Watch out there, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and in the Mississippi River Valley. The numbers are mainly in the 50s and 60s, although KC is a little warmer at 75. To reverse the numbers for Chicago, 57, 53 in the best location in the nation, Cleveland, Ohio. Denver, 67, 88 Phoenix. Right now, we do have widespread precipitation, some light spits and drizzles moving through and along the front of the Wxch of Utah, picking up wet weather, and the scattered showers once again are prevalent across the northwest with that new frontal system to bring in some nasty storms yesterday. Here's a look at the showers in the foothills of the Rockies, and then you work back towards Puget Sound and still around Seattle and up towards the mountains, picking up some wet weather here near Spokane, scattered showers near Boise, and picking up a little bit of moisture, again, working in towards Fresno and Bakersfield. A lot of this high-level moisture, but a few drops hitting the ground. That's just about it. So there we are. Put it all back in one piece, one look at your current map. Now let's check out your forecast. With details, here's Viv.
Okay, then the midday hour shows our system as it weakens over the northeast now. A few rain showers we've seen this morning in the area, but again, as our surface cold front swings through, it'll just be a morning event over the northeast and just a few lighter showers. It'll be scattered throughout the day, our nation's capital and maybe around Baltimore, the outer banks here of North Carolina. Our main focus will be right out ahead of this surface front over the upper Midwest, Minneapolis, St. Paul. The chance of thunderstorm activity for you today and throughout the northern Rockies too. Now behind our second front, we'll find some much colder air building in, certainly by the end of the week into the weekend. Much colder air. We'll talk more about that in the long-range forecast. But again, over the northeast, just a morning event. The rain showers here, nothing very heavy. Not a total washout. Shouldn't totally ruin your day. Afternoon highs in the 70s and 80s across much of the region. Again, a few showers lingering along the coastal plains, South and North Carolina. Maybe a few widely scattered showers over the Gulf Coast with highs in the 80s and 90s today. But again, things will certainly be changing by next week, and we'll talk more about that coming up in just a moment. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
In an era when doctors don't make house calls and shopping is done in impersonal strip malls, why does John Deere have dealers that still deliver, that help you with parts and service, and answer questions on lawn care? Are we behind the times, or just prouder of the products we stand behind? To find out, why not ask your John Deere dealer? He's right where you need him.
For more information about John Deere lawn and garden equipment, contact your local John Deere dealer.
From sun-drenched bounty of the Mediterranean comes new Mediterania, the first Mediterranean pasta sauce to bring you roasted
The Michelin Travel Wise is brought to you by Michelin and your local Michelin dealer.
A check of the current map shows scattered showers up and down the eastern seaboard and wet weather in the west, smack dab in the middle. It's looking pretty good thanks to high pressure. Memphis, Tennessee's looking okay. The Mid-South Fair starts today, if that's where you're headed. May catch a stray little light shower, but that should be mostly south and west of you, so it's not looking bad in Memphis. But on the road this morning, some of the roads are damp. There are a few puddles from overnight rain showers. Right now you get into Maine primarily and back around Philly, Baltimore, and D.C. That's where the bulk of the wet weather is found this morning. Mainly light to occasionally a moderate shower. Otherwise, we're just talking spotty rain showers. Shouldn't be anything to really cause problems on the road, but be careful nonetheless. With a wet road, you know there's going to be someone overdoing it a little bit. So scattered precipitation here in the west. Not a lot of this reaching the ground. What is just very, very spotty. Over the northeast quarter, a little batch of rain going to come hitting into Boston very shortly, so that'll dampen the roadways a little bit. So you might want to allow an extra minute or two to get to where you're heading this morning. You can see a few light showers here. You get into the Hudson Valley and down towards the Big Apple again. Maybe the little umbrella would be a good idea today, just in case you get one of those passing showers. But once we get back in towards eastern PA, down towards Philly, and then push it down to Baltimore and D.C., that's where the rain is a little heavier. As you'll notice, the darker shades of green, even a few yellows here, so a rumble of thunder not out of the question. That rain continues down towards Richmond and then in the Piedmont of the Appalachians, so be careful. I-81, I-77, for example, Interstate 85 will be wet in spots, so be careful. Strong thunderstorms, possibly severe storms. This will be later today. We've got the front moving on through, a little more energy, and so into Minnesota and Iowa and Wisconsin and upper Michigan, we could see some severe weather, including the Twin Cities, Des Moines, Iowa, perhaps Omaha, Nebraska, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Rhineland, or maybe even Madison, Wisconsin. So be careful here. Wet travel where you see the green. Again, scattered here this morning. This will be a lot of this later this afternoon, as will much of the stuff across the Intermountain West, where a few strong storms could be a possibility here. And we cannot rule out a strong storm over the Carolina coast. The front's not really going to push offshore as much as it is going to just sort of fall apart there, but the instability could create a thunder shower there later today. Winds will be strong, gusting out of the southwest to 30 here, heating it up in the plains, but also if you're traveling in the east-west highway routes, could definitely move you around a bit. There's some fog in the Appalachians. Be careful around Pittsburgh and down through the Ohio River Valley. If you're flying today, so far so good. No airport delays reported due to the weather in the east nor in the southeast. Things looking marvelous in the Great Lakes today. Should be no problems. And in the west, despite the spotty showers, no airport delays this morning.
Get your complete weekend forecast. Watch the Weekend Outlook just ahead.
At Michelin, we believe a tire that's just good in the rain isn't good enough. The Michelin X1, with a 6-year, unlimited mileage tread-life warranty, is the one tire that gives you better wet traction than any rain tire, plus Michelin control in most driving conditions. After all, it hasn't rained that much in years. The Michelin X1.
Find Michelin tires at this dealer near you, because so much is riding on your tires.
Know what frustrates me? People use the wrong product to stop water from leaking through their basement walls. They think a water sealer will do the same job as a waterproofer. Water sealers go on thin and only repel water. But Drylock Masonry Waterproofer goes on thick. It fills the pores in the masonry and expands as it dries to form a tough waterproof barrier. Use it on exterior masonry and concrete swimming pools, too. So don't use a water sealer when you need a waterproofer. Use Drylock or latex-based Drylock. They're guaranteed to stop water.
Look for Drylock products at this dealer near you.
It can develop in an instant and take a devastating toll. Stay informed. Be prepared. Watch the Weather Channel for severe weather updates all season long.
Okay, it's about 15 minutes after the hour, and you are just in time. Look at the forecast for the weekend. I'll tell you what, big changes in store. You know, we've seen the heat across the central, the southern plains, and the southeast. Today, another hot day shaping up, and tomorrow, too, widespread 90s. But look at this cold air that's building over the northern plains, the northern Rockies. Highs in the 50s and 40s here. And believe it or not, some of that cold air will be pushing south and east as we go toward the weekend. Dallas, you'll see a dramatic cool down across the region, even around Wichita and Kansas City. Denver, much, much colder than what we have seen. And notice how the cooler air slides into parts of Tennessee, Ohio, and the Northeast, with highs only in the 60s and 70s. So that's the biggest change. It's the overall temperature pattern. We'll find scattered showers and storms moving across the upper Mississippi Valley tomorrow. This system may become a little bit more potent and moisture-filled across the south on Saturday, and then it all moves toward the eastern seaboard Sunday with scattered showers and storms from our nation's capital to the New England coast. But the biggest change, again, will be the cool down behind this system. That's a look at the forecast for the weekend. The day-by-day forecast is coming your way next.
Dust bunnies under the chair? Dust so thick it's everywhere? You need Static Duster, the cleaning sensation that cuts cleaning time in half. Charge Static Duster on any TV screen. The charge is so powerful, dust and dirt leap onto the wand. Clean delicate collectibles. Great for louver doors and blinds, grids and grills. Clean the screen under the machine. Great for all your electronics. Static Duster slips into shelves, snakes around corners, dust leaps off plants and soak flowers. Now order Static Duster for only $14.95. But wait, you get a second Static Duster with extension handle. It stretches to reach moldings and bends for hard-to-reach places. As a bonus, you get the Tiny Duster. The complete kit only $14.95, but we're not through yet. You'll get Stain Ender, the miracle remover that blasts away stains. It's a $20 value, and it's yours free when you order Static Duster. Here's how to order.
To order Static Duster for only $14.95 plus shipping, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-474-1551 or send check or money order to the address on your screen. Sorry, no CODs.
Stay informed. Be prepared at weather.com. The most extensive severe weather coverage on the internet, from the Weather Channel's computers straight to yours.
Are you up all night with nasty neck pain? Now discover the ultimate sleeping experience, the Mount Fuji Oriental Buckwheat Pillow. Mount Fuji pillows, all natural buckwheat hulls shift to move with you. We placed an egg under a foam pillow. We dropped the glass head on it. The egg is smashed, no support. We'll place the egg under the feathers from a down pillow. Drop it again. That egg is scrambled. Now place the egg under the buckwheat hulls from the Mount Fuji pillow. Drop the head. The egg is safe. It custom molds itself to cradle and support your neck and shoulders in perfect comfort. Other pillows get hotter.
The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Up and at 'em is 20 minutes past the hour. Time to take a look at the next 5 days of weather. Good morning, everyone. I'm Bruce Edwards here with Vivian Brown. It's Thursday, the 18th of September, downside of the week, heading in towards the weekend. So maybe one last little leg of your business trip this week, and then it's back home for a little R&R. Or maybe you're thinking ahead towards a weekend getaway. Whatever the case, here's the current weather map just to sort of set the stage for us. But we are going to be setting the stage for some significant changes, especially in the temperature department. Here's the scenario. We've got this front moving to the east. Out ahead of it, some scattered showers here, but not a lot of rain here, not a whole lot really. Around D.C., perhaps in the upper Chesapeake Bay, we'll get a little more as this front edges to the coast. And it's not really going to move offshore as much as it's going to fall apart because there's some strong high pressure out in the Atlantic and high pressure gets to the east. We've got this frontal system here, this low, this will be cruising on out, and later today it could ignite some severe storms across parts of the western Corn Belt into the upper Mississippi River Valley. And you see what this is? This is going to be a port. That is the system that's going to be the leading edge of some much cooler air that'll be slicing to the south and the east as we work our way in towards the weekend. Let's look at the situation. The West is going to have a nice weekend, too. The Northwest, at least, they've been rather soggy, to say the very least. We've had the jet, that trough offshore, so we're seeing the onshore flow as we are today. Again, no relief really here today. But by the weekend, the jet and the ridge start to build, so we're going to see warmer weather, and all those disturbances will be pushed up into British Columbia and then eventually sweep down across southern Canada. But the Northwest will be protected, thank you very much, as that ridge starts to reestablish itself. Let's put the jet in motion right now. And again, the trough that is in the west will start digging on into the east. We'll see quiet weather Friday in the east. But then behind the trough comes the cooler air. That cooler air is going to be slicing to the east. And as we work our way into the latter part of the weekend, and I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to like the nice, refreshing little change to more comfortable temperatures, as temperatures in the south and central states have been well above normal. And again, we can see the big ridge in the west. That will keep all the storms heading up towards British Columbia and keep the west coast and the Pacific Northwest particularly dry and drying out. That is good news here. So once again at midday, we see this front starting to fall apart. There'll be some scattered showers associated with it. High pressure in the Great Lakes, marvelous day today. Here comes the low in this front. Now, as it works into the upper Mississippi Valley, this is when we could see this development of some strong to potentially severe storms. Behind the ridge of high pressure comes the southwesterly wind, so we start to get some moisture feeding north into Missouri and Arkansas. And then back ahead of this frontal system, another ripple of low pressure stirs up a few storms in the Wasatch, and we still see the onshore flow in Washington and Oregon, some scattered showers. Tomorrow morning, the high moves east. That front falls apart. It's quiet weather along the eastern third of the country. Scattered showers here. But see this second front here? That is the leading edge of the cool air. Well, you look up at the canopy, you see little flecks of white. We didn't forget to dust the map. It is going to get cooler. And then by tomorrow afternoon, we're going to see some upsloping rains across Wyoming and into Colorado, and some overrunning moisture with the front, sort of from the Great Lakes back to the plains. A little damp Friday afternoon. High and dry through much of the east. And we'll be watching the cool air coming in behind this front. Now, speaking of the numbers, here they are today. Look at what we're forecasting. Tons of 90s, even some 100s in Texas, 80s up towards Minneapolis and Chicago and Milwaukee and Detroit and Cleveland, and 80s into southern New England. What's normal this time of year? We're talking 60s and 70s here, 80s. Where are the 90s? Confined to the southwest. That's normal. Well, it'll still be hot in the south and the east Friday ahead of our front, but you can see very clearly where it is located. And as Saturday it edges east, we'll still see some warmth here in the east and southeast, but look at how significantly cooler it's going to get into the plains. Well, the cooler, dry air will slide onto the east as we work towards Sunday. So much, we're talking 70s replacing the, or 60s replacing the 80s in New England, and we squeeze the 90s down into Florida and get them completely out of the picture by Monday. And only the 90s we find will be in the southwestern U.S. So again, a significant cool down is on tap for us as we head into the latter part of the week. Now, precipitation, going to be critical, the timing of this system, how quickly it moves across the country with that high building in. But there'll be the price to pay with some showers, perhaps a few thunderstorms with the active system Saturday, Great Lakes into the southern plains. So Saturday looked like the best day across the eastern seaboard. Sunday there'll be some wet weather moving here, especially on into the morning, and everything will be skedaddling by Monday afternoon with the cooler, drier air moving in. Stay tuned.
Taste the wind. Touch a sunset. Smell the spray. See life. Listen to your heart. Silverton, racy expresses and sidewalk yachts. Mainship, classic motor yachts and economical trawlers. Lures, sport fishing convertibles and open expresses. Hunter, innovations from 17 to 45 feet. 5 senses, 4 values, 1 company. Lures Marine Group.
See your local Silverton, Mainship, Lures, or Hunter dealer, or call 188-27-YACHT for the dealer nearest you.
Oh, maybe if I lie down, I can zip these up.
Well, the cleaners must have shrunk this.
Try these on for size. New Quaker Chocolate Crunch Rice Cakes. Now topped with real chocolate chips.
Hey, America, Louisiana was wondering. Like to take a walk?
This is WeatherScope.
Top of the morning, everyone. It's 1:30 on this Thursday morning, the 18th of September. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bruce Edwards. This is Vivian Brown.
Good morning.
We would like to salute the Air Force this morning, celebrating their 50th anniversary. They've been flying planes since the 1900s. And World War I, they didn't officially become their own separate branch of the service till 1947. So it is a 50th anniversary, so happy birthday, so to speak, to the Air Force. And as we mentioned earlier, some neat shows started. The Addams Family on this date back in 1964, Get Smart in 1965, and Wagon Train back in 1957. I vaguely remember that. But no, I didn't figure Vivian would. But it's also National Student Day to salute the students who work so hard to try to get those grades. And you know, the school year's still starting. Everyone's gung-ho. Keep it up. And congratulations, students. Keep the good work going.
That's right. School has started back, and that certainly puts you in the feel of fall season, and fall officially begins this coming Monday.
That's right.
And we definitely have some cold air in store, and Bruce will have a complete look at your forecast in just a moment. First, let's check on current weather. We'll begin actually with the precipitation that we've had already the last 24 hours. This is our Doppler. Parts of Interstate 95 may give you problems in South. Could see some severe weather today in parts of the Great Lakes and the upper Midwest, but most of the eastern half of the nation will enjoy calmer weather as the day goes on. Good morning and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Vivian Brown.
And I'm Bruce Edwards. Now, rain and thunderstorms may dampen the afternoon for some of you in the Carolinas. However, the activity will be rather isolated because for the most part, the system that will cause the unsettled weather is beginning to dissipate. Yesterday, that same system caused rain in Michigan, in Birmingham, northwest of Detroit.
When you're on the go, Get the Weather Channel forecast from these sources. It's the same reliable information you get from us on TV, prepared by our 80 meteorologists. And now your local forecast.
This edition of Travel Wise is sponsored by the U.S. Postal Service. Okay, let's check on our national radar to see what is sponsored by the U.S. Postal Service. Okay, let's check on our national radar to see where the roads are a little tricky this morning, and you can see pretty much right here over the upper Midwest, the upper Mississippi River Valley is where we have the bulk of the precipitation this morning. And you know what? We've always noted on radar the reflectivity of snow is a little bit smoother, kind of a more dull look. And all of this is light snow. The snow showers here, northern Illinois, Indiana, western Kentucky, even around the St. Louis area. But this is rain, and we've had even some ice pellets in eastern Kentucky and eastern Ohio. And can't you see that it's a little darker in these areas? So the reflectivity of raindrops is a little clearer than, say, of snowflakes back here across the upper Midwest. But nevertheless, if you're traveling, say, from Chicago to Milwaukee and northward around Duluth and Hibbing, Minnesota, International Falls reporting the snow, it's a wintry scene for sure across much of the upper Midwest. The New England coast looking good. We have fair skies as the storm system moved offshore yesterday, making for a very nice travel day along the 95 corridor from Concord, New Hampshire, southward to Boston and even around Atlantic City, New Jersey, all the way to the eastern coastal areas here, Florida, Interstate 95, looking good. Extreme southern Florida near Miami, maybe some rain showers and low clouds lingering, but the rest of Florida, quite a bit of sunshine in store for the Sunshine State. Orlando over to Tampa, Tallahassee, Interstate 10 looking good. Atlanta, we think low clouds will linger in your area because we're still talking about that broad area of low pressure to the north, and it's basically around the base of that low pressure that we'll find some lighter showers skirting through eastern Tennessee and central Tennessee and maybe even northern Georgia. But again, we think just low clouds as the bulk of the rain will be held to your north. And here is a closer look at the overall cyclonic flow. So be careful if you have travel plans on any of the interstates over the Midwest. Wet weather near the Olympic Peninsula. We've had some light rain in Cruute, Washington this morning, but the rest of the West in great shape if you're traveling across the area. It'll be very windy, too, with those north and northwest winds. Gusts up to 50 miles an hour can be expected at times. and even extending farther south over Arkansas, much of Mississippi, and Alabama. Let's check on the airports right quick. No delays so far. The major hubs over the Northeast, the Southeast, and not even the Midwest so far, but we'll keep you posted throughout the morning.
Get your complete weekend forecast. Watch the Weekend Outlook just ahead.
Everyone likes to get packages. Packages to keep businesses running, to bring people closer. The U.S. Postal Service uses more planes with more trucks and people to deliver for your business than FedEx and UPS combined. We deliver packages to everyone, everywhere, every day.
Buongiorno e benvenuto.
As a sponsor.
The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
This winter weather update is sponsored by Honda and Honda Blowers, products for life. And we do want to remind you that as of November 1st, we have, of course, shifted our attention to the winter scenario because hurricane season is coming to an end. It's officially over the end of November, but because things become so much more quiet at the beginning of November, we've kind of shifted our programming or adjusted our programming accordingly as winter weather is starting to take on more of a focus than the tropical situation. We do want to remind you, though, that we are keeping an eye on Super Typhoon Keith here as it moved across the Mariana Islands, packing winds in excess of 220 miles an hour. We've had reports that over 25,000 people are left without power over the Mariana Islands, including the island of Saipan. We've had reports of just sporadic power outages in Guam, which is the southernmost island here of the Marianas. But as it continues to move west, of course, it's moving away from the Mariana Islands, and we do anticipate this system to quickly and sharply move east, and that will take it back over the Pacific waters. By the way, this is a look at the Pacific waters, mainland China here. This is Korea and Japan. A little closer inspection, the Philippines here. Now, as it starts to curve farther north and then east, perhaps it will be closer to Okinawa. So definitely, no, not Okinawa, but Iwo Jima, and we'll have to keep you posted on that in terms of very gusty winds and locally heavy rains. Now, I'll tell you what, just one interesting note that I was reading over the computer, that it says that now Guam is right about here, the southernmost island of the Marianas. And it said that doctors at the Guam Memorial Hospital asked women who were at least 7 months pregnant to go to the hospital because pressure changes can trigger labor. 82 expected mothers checked into the hospital Sunday, and 16 gave birth. So, I'll tell you what, Mother Nature and her vast influences on the weather and just life itself. And speaking of low pressure, we've certainly had a broad cyclonic flow here over the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes area. Certainly this low pressure does not compare with our super typhoon in the West Pacific for all expected mothers, so not to worry here. But we do anticipate snow accumulations, maybe 1 to 3 inches, the arrowhead of Minnesota, the northwestern parts of Indiana, the lower peninsula of Michigan, but a broad area of snow showers we've seen so far this morning. So if you have travel plans anywhere across the Midwest and the upper Mississippi River Valley, be prepared. Slushy driving conditions. Interstate 80 from eastern Nebraska around Omaha and Lincoln. We've had reports of snow this morning over to Dubuque, Iowa. Chicago even waking up to snow. Milwaukee and around St. Louis. Now, you folks in St. Louis, I tell you what, we've had reports of moderate snow at the airport. So some bursts of heavier snow have been found here as we have the overall cyclonic flow, and you can pretty much get a better idea here on our water vapor loop, the broad upper level low here that we'll be watching. And around the base of this trough or low pressure, we've had a few showers skirting across north central Arkansas near Harrison, and notice how it's starting to move eastward near Memphis, Tennessee. We think low clouds will linger much of the day over northern Georgia, maybe around Atlanta, but you go south of Atlanta, say from Macon down to Valdosta, much of Mississippi and Alabama, quite a bit of sunshine will be found here. New Orleans over to Houston, a great day is shaping up. Houston around the Galleria area, it's looking good. Sunny, an afternoon high of 72 degrees. You do notice that most of the eastern seaboard looking good today. Boston, New York, Philly, afternoon highs in the mid-60s. The Pacific Northwest now, we have a little bit of light rain near Quileute, Washington, but another sunny, dry, warm day across the Southwest. That's a look at the winter weather picture. Will?
And light snow continues to fall right now across western parts of lower Michigan. We'll have a live report coming up in 5 minutes with Kristen Dodd. Stay with us.
Sometimes people depend on you to be somewhere, even in the toughest winter conditions. That's why you can rely on a Honda snowblower. With features like Honda's legendary Easy Start overhead valve engine, user-friendly controls, and track drive for sure grip.
This edition of WeatherScope is sponsored by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
This is WeatherScope.
It looks like you've got a wet morning ahead of you across the Great Lakes region into the Ohio Valley. Good morning and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Will Annan.
And good morning, I'm Vivian Brown. Low pressure over the Great Lakes is generating precipitation this morning. Ahead of that low pressure, we're finding light rain, but on the backside of that low pressure, we have the air that's cold enough, and it's creating some light snow from Michigan to Minnesota. Light snow began falling yesterday in St. Paul, Minnesota. Streets quickly became damp and slick. Trees began to take on a whitened appearance. The snow continued through the night, so if you live in southern Minnesota and your car has been out, then you want to allow extra time this morning because you'll probably have to brush off a little light snow before driving like this young man. So bear that in mind if you live in southern Minnesota. It's all because we've been watching a broad upper-level low-pressure system spinning over the Midwest, and we have reports of widespread snow showers from central, eastern Minnesota right on down to the St. Paul area still this morning. Hibbing, Duluth, and International Falls reporting a little heavier snow here over the air ahead of Minnesota. And notice how it's pushing across central, northern Illinois, even southern Illinois, say from Marion over to the St. Louis area. We have reports of snow in Covington, Kentucky, a good part of Indiana, Indianapolis, South Bend, and Gary reporting snow. So we are waking up to a wintry scene this morning. Winds here coming from the north and northwest and basically just spiraling off toward the east here. This is the southern end of that broad trough of low pressure, so most of this precipitation is moving off to the east. A lot of this is snow in western Kentucky, but across the eastern parts and into West Virginia, we have reports of light, chilly rain and much of the same over eastern Ohio. A little farther north, and again, the winds here coming from the north and west, and we've had reports of snow right here over the western parts of the lower peninsula of Michigan. We've had one little weak part of the system move across the lower peninsula, but still with our surface low back here, we are finding that counterclockwise rotation, winds blowing off of the lakes and picking up some of the moisture from the lakes and then depositing it in the form of snow over the western parts of the lower peninsula. Now, Grand Rapids is right about here. And in the midst of the light snow showers this morning, we have our very own Kristen Dodd standing by in Grand Rapids, and she joins us now. Kristen?
Well, Vivian, we did have a few flurries earlier today, but things are very quiet here in Grand Rapids, although we are finding the snow It's heading toward us, although it's coming in on cars that are a little bit farther to our west. I was able to scoop up a very wet and heavy snowball from a car that just headed in from Holland, Michigan, which is right on the shoreline of Lake Michigan. Behind me, we have the city of Grand Rapids and the Grand River that runs through the heart of downtown. And just below me is Interstate 96. And the cars here are coming from the direction of Lake Michigan, and some of those cars have been toting a little bit of snow with them. And that is where we are seeing the more significant snowfall, generally right along the lake. And we do have lake effect snow advisories in effect for the shoreline along Lake Michigan, and that does include the cities of Muskegon and also Holland. Now, in the past half hour, Vivian, I was called out of our restaurant by one of the local radio stations to do an interview, and of course they think it's hysterical that we're out here and all bundled up because they're used to weather like this. And as a matter of fact, this is fantastic weather compared to the snowstorm that hit Monday over in Sparta, which is just to the north of us. They had as much as 8 inches of snow and widespread power outages. So a few flurries are welcome here in Grand Rapids.
Well, thanks very much, Kristen. I tell you what, not as bad of a scene across the upper Midwest as what we saw last week, but still you'll have to deal with snow showers and a wintry travel scenario here across much of the Midwest. Again, Kristen Dodd reporting live from Grand Rapids, Michigan, right about here, where we anticipate more snow showers to build as we go through the afternoon hours. Winds have been generally out of the north and northwest, and they've been gusting too, making for brutal wind chills. So it's definitely a wintry scene across much of the upper Midwest. And I'll tell you what, with that wintry scenario, we're talking about a lot of cold air. High pressure over the southwest, and that's making for warm conditions as we continue with the offshore flow. So a wintry scene over the west, but it feels like summer. A wintry scene over the east, but it feels like summer out west. And as we continue with our cyclonic flow and just the general counterclockwise rotation, you can pretty much see, again, the wintry scenario, very windy, making for brutal wind chills, but with high pressure over the southwest, the clockwise flow around it, offshore winds, and another hot one in store for Southern California. How hot, you ask? Well, with the answer, here's Will.
We'll talk about some of that hot weather in Southern California and some more cold weather, which will be extending from the northern plains, cooling areas as far south as Georgia and the deep south today. And offshore winds that brought record temperatures to the southwest are going to ease up just a little bit this afternoon. I'll show you some of those record highs yesterday, which did include Burbank, California at 102. The Civic Center, downtown Los Angeles, 99 degrees. Pasadena set a record at 97. And take a look at what happened around right around San Diego, California, tying a record there at 90 degrees. A lot of hot weather throughout the southwest yesterday. Even Phoenix was up to 90 degrees, not a record, but still very warm weather over the southwest. And of course, those big offshore winds brought the record heat to the coastal areas of Southern California yesterday afternoon. Here's a look at the high temperatures for the rest of the country yesterday. Again, it was just beginning to cool down throughout the Midwest by about 5 to 10 degrees below average for this time of the year. Warmer than average thanks to clouds in New England. And of course, with the sunshine and Santa Ana winds in Southern California, temperatures there 5 to 15 degrees above average. Lower 60s right now in Southern California. A bit of a breeze, of course, throughout the middle part of the country. We'll factor in the winds there. The wind chill goes down to 1 in Des Moines, Iowa. We'll check on this now. Sub-zero stuff around Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Fargo down to 10 degrees below zero. And Duluth stands at 5, getting a little bit cooler still around Chicago, wind chill-wise, at 25 degrees. Probably cooler still this afternoon once this trough begins to work its way on eastward. We'll be looking at stronger northwesterly winds around Chicago. And once again, it's going to be a wind-whipped light snow coming down around Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, and Minneapolis right through the rest of the day. We're going to check on your good afternoon forecast right now, your good morning forecast into this afternoon. Show you the midday weather map. There is that stubborn low pressure system, which is moving very slowly, just lumbering its way over towards Traverse City, Michigan by midday today. West side of the low, the cold side of the low, northwesterly winds, light snow showers, and looks like most of Indiana picking up some light snow today, and rain changes to snow just about over all of the Buckeye State by later this afternoon too. Now tomorrow that storm system in the Ohio Valley is going to bring some more clouds and maybe a couple of more showers for New England. Otherwise, you can see the deep south is going to be chilly but dry, And for the Pacific Northwest, maybe some more rain will be arriving there, but mostly in British Columbia. This storm system right here is going to be another very weak one. Maybe a couple of more showers around Omaha, Nebraska as you look at Tuesday afternoon. And there's your wet weather, too, throughout central and northern New England. Just some light showers today for the Pacific Northwest. Again, if we're going to look at any snowfall, it's going to be very, very light. A couple of inches maybe in the snow belt areas of southwestern lower Michigan. And also the Arrowhead region of upper Michigan, make that Minnesota, could be looking at a few more areas of light snowfall there. But temperatures beginning to tumble. 30s for St. Louis, Chicago, and Indianapolis today, and also around Kalamazoo. Much cooler tomorrow morning in the southeastern part of the nation. And take a look at the highs on Tuesday afternoon. Still chilly from Minneapolis to Green Bay, but not bad from Dallas to San Antonio to Los Angeles, California.
Okay, warm over the southwest, but quite chilly over the Midwest. Stay with us. We'll check on the traveling conditions for you next.
Like all Americans, I like big things. Big prairies. Big forests and mountains. Big wheat fields. And everything else.
Watch how good watching your weight can feel with Dannon Light Yogurt.
Move those feet and turn and lift.
You see, when women cut calories, they may also cut calcium. But now, Dannon Light has put in 33% more calcium than before, more than any other leading light yogurt. It's fat-free and 100 luscious calories to help you stay strong for this daily workout we call Life.
Dig, ladies! You can do it!
Dannon Light, now with 33% more calcium.
Whether you're catching a flight or commuting to work, weather can affect your plans. Watch TravelWise mornings at 10 and 40 after the hour for potential trouble spots. Take the surprise out of your morning travel with TravelWise on the Weather Channel. Right now, your local forecast.
The Michelin Travel Wise is brought to you by Michelin and your local Michelin dealer.
Traveling conditions will be a little bit on the rough side if you live in the Midwest today. We'll be looking at some stiff crosswinds on Interstates 90 and 94. But as far as the major airport hubs go this morning, not too bad of a problem really anywhere. Look at Boston, New York, and Philly. We're checking the deep south right now around Atlanta and Charlotte, all the way over towards Dallas and Houston. Things are looking fine. And those mini delays around St. Louis are gone. They had a burst of heavier snow and some stiff winds, but even there, things are back to normal as of the present time. We could be looking at some of those gusts getting better than or close to 50 miles per hour today across parts of Missouri, Iowa, and Minnesota. That's where you're going to be looking at the greatest pressure difference between low pressure over Wisconsin right now and high pressure off towards the west. So again, we'll be looking at those strong crosswinds on those east-west roads right through later this afternoon. Some of those strong winds will be getting all the way down towards Tupelo, Mississippi, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Shreveport, Louisiana. And some of that rain over eastern Ohio becomes wet snow a little bit later on today. It's happening right now in Indiana, much of lower Michigan, especially near the lake, and continues to be a problem, at least a semi-problem for sure, across parts of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. It's going to be light skifting snow that could make the roads a little bit more on the greasy side. Here comes your band of light rainfall heading on eastbound to Pittsburgh and Buffalo later on. No strong or severe storms today. Great news for the Gulf Coast and much of the Sunshine State. We saw problems over the weekend with severe weather. And here's the big picture right now. Again, a lot of snow showers getting all the way down to Missouri and maybe in western Kentucky and Tennessee too. The Florida forecast and the weekend picture coming up.
Making weekend plans? Don't miss the Weekend Outlook coming up. For certain drivers, the road's already open. Those who drive on the Michelin Alpine, the only tire with Y-Sipes. Because they flex and bite, Michelin's patented Y-Sipes give you incredible snow traction and control. Traction in turning, braking, and accelerating. Y-Sipe technology, only from Michelin. Because so much is riding on your tires.
Find Michelin tires at this dealer near you, because so much is riding on your tires.
Service Master Clean. The clean you expect. The service you deserve.
Jelly, you need some medicine for that cold. It's Dimetap Elixir, and it's your favorite flavor, grape.
Dimetap, the #1 doctor-recommended brand for colds. Doctors say Dimetap for good reason.
Okay, it's time now to check out the Sunshine State, and you know that's Florida. The Florida forecast shows our satellite picture of the entire southeast. We have fair skies from eastern Texas all the way to the southern Atlantic coast. Fair skies over the northern peninsula here, even the Panhandle. We have a little swath of lighter clouds moving right across near Tallahassee, but these are not producing any precipitation. We've had reports of some showers, even some thunderstorms around Homestead, Florida this morning. That's because that frontal boundary is in the general vicinity, so a little choppy here, the extreme southern shores of Florida. Maybe cloudy throughout the day for you in Miami, but as you head north on I-95 or I-75, and you'll run out of the clouds and you'll just find plain old sunshine in Orlando and around Tampa over to Daytona Beach and even Panama City. Water temperatures are pretty nice too, still in the 80s, again with quite a bit of sunshine across the north.
House or apartment?
House. Dog or cat?
Dog. Kids or no kids?
Kids. Tartar control or whitening?
Whitening.
Tartar control.
Luckily, now you can have both. Introducing Colgate Tartar Control plus whitening. Tartar fighting power and a whitener. They were made for each other. New Colgate Tartar Control plus whitening.
The delicate eye area is the first place you notice fine lines. So what can you do? Clinical tests prove one eye gel is highly effective. This gel combines soothing cucumber extract, provitamin B5, and witch hazel. Instantly, it begins to help reduce the look of fine lines, even puffiness, for eyes that look refreshed and renewed. And the name? Oil of Olay Revitalizing Eye Gel, proven to give you younger-looking skin.
Viruses, bacteria, even illness may be creeping into your home because mice can carry disease. So put Decon mouse-proof baits wherever mice feed to get rid of the threat fast. Decon mouse-proof. Protect your home. Protect your family.
Okay, we'll try to depict the weather picture we're expecting by the end of the week. Starting with our jet stream, because of course the configuration of the jet stream certainly holds the key to what happens at the surface, as the jet stream is really just a representation of the fastest winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and they do steer systems at the surface. Now, broad trough of low pressure over the east will keep it quite cool, and the damp conditions, that's what we're dealing with this morning, the widespread snow showers over much of the upper Midwest. And by the end of the week, it looks as though that trough will get a little bit deeper over the east, while we still have this ridge of high pressure over the southwest. As far as temperatures go, we'll find 50, slightly below average this time of year, northern Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, temperatures in the 60s, but notice your 70s from Texas and then 80s over the southwest. As far as precipitation goes, with that trough here, rain along the coast as a little coastal storm will develop, much like we had to deal with, of course, last weekend. So definitely we'll watch this for you up and down the eastern seaboard. Now, if you have big weekend plans,
It's time once again for WeatherScope, and this edition of WeatherScope is sponsored by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers.
This is WeatherScope.
You've got a wet morning ahead of you across the Great Lakes region into the Ohio Valley. Good morning and welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Will Annan.
And good morning, I'm Vivian Brown. A low-pressure system over the Great Lakes is generating precipitation this morning. Ahead of that low-pressure system, we're finding light rain, but on the backside, the air is cold enough that we have snow showers from Michigan to Minnesota. Light snow began falling yesterday in St. Paul, Minnesota. Streets quickly became damp and slick. Trees began to take on a whitened appearance. If you live in southern Minnesota, I tell you what, as you wake up this morning, you may have to dust some of the snow off of your car if you left it out overnight. So you want to allow extra time, just as this young man did, an extra 20 minutes or so, just to clear the windshields before you head out. And again, the widespread snow has been found across a good part of the Midwest. You can see here our satellite and radar composite shows the precipitation from Hibbing and International Falls, Minnesota. Around Duluth we have snow. We've had reports of some light snow around the St. Paul area. Minneapolis now reporting snow this hour. And you can see right here across Illinois, Indiana, western Ohio, all of this is snow. We've had a burst of heavier snow just south of St. Louis. Now, a different perspective shows the overall movement of the precipitation, and this is generally moving off toward the east as we have a broad cyclonic flow. And with that in mind, the snow and most of the precipitation, the winds have been blowing in a counterclockwise fashion. So all of this drifting off toward the east. We've had some lighter rains here across central Tennessee. A lot of this not touching the ground, basically representative of mid-level moisture. But the snow has been widespread across the central parts of Illinois, Indiana, Chicago now. We do not anticipate any heavy accumulations, but it certainly is making for a wintry scene this morning as we wake up. Winds coming in off of the western Great Lakes here, Lake Superior, Lake Michigan. We've had one little trough to swing across the lower peninsula of Michigan, and here's another little swing on through too, and we'll find a burst of a little bit of light snow across the lower peninsula of Michigan as we go through the afternoon hours. Now, lake-effect advisories have been issued right here, the lower peninsula of Michigan, as winds come off of Lake Michigan. So you definitely want to be on the lookout here. And we have our very young Kristen Dodd. She's standing by in Grand Rapids right here, and she joins us now with the latest. Kristen?
Well, Vivian, if you look very, very closely, you may see a few flurries flying. That has developed over the past 10 minutes. We have seen a few snowflakes, but it's nothing compared to what they are getting closer to Lake Michigan. We had a car drive into our parking lot from Holland, Michigan, which is about 25 miles to our southwest, and they had quite a bit of snow on their car, and so we've been taking advantage of that and making a few snowballs. Very wet and heavy snow, perfect for making the snowmen. Now behind me, we are in Grand Rapids, and you can see the skyline there behind me. Just below me is Interstate 96, which heads up to the north and northwest. And as it does so, it runs into Muskegon, Michigan, which also has been receiving some snowfall right off of Lake Michigan. And we are going to continue to see that falling, especially closer to the lake, as the wind comes over the water. The water of Lake Michigan now running about 45 to 52 degrees, and with the relatively warm water and the winds coming across that helps destabilize the air, and that's where we are seeing some of the lake-enhanced and lake-effect snows. And as you mentioned, there are snow advisories in effect for, right now, about 4 counties, including the cities of Muskegon and also Holland. This next hour, we are going to head over to Holland and see some of the snow that is on the ground right now, and we'll start bringing you live reports coming up closer toward noon. Back to you, Vivian.
Well, thanks very much, Kristen. And, of course, the Weather Channel crew moving a little farther west now so we can get better scenes of the snow right here across the lower peninsula of Michigan. But it is very blustery over the area, so not only are we talking about the bursts of snow showers, but also those winds have been howling out of the north and northwest in excess of 20 and 30 miles an hour. So definitely a wintry scene across the Midwest as we have this broad cyclonic flow here. So wintry over the east, but it's summer-like across the southwest, so that's because we have high pressure that's dominating much of the region, and those offshore winds will keep it warm. But again, a winter scenario with that cold air swinging southward from Canada, and you get just the rotation, this counterclockwise flow, but the clockwise flow around high pressure over the southwest, and that's transporting some of the heat from the deserts to the coastal areas. And with more details on the heat, here's Will.
Okay, Vivian, we'll talk about some more heat conditions, some hot conditions across Southern California, and some more cold weather, which will be extending from the northern plains, cooling areas as far south as Georgia today. And once again, as offshore winds that brought record temperatures to the southwest, as they ease up a little bit today, it's going to be a tad cooler in Southern California. Take a look at some of these records yesterday. We had a host of them across Southern California. Burbank, 102, at the Civic Center in Los Angeles, California, 99 degrees. Pasadena was up to 97. And checking out a few more records, we also had some in Florida. Hollywood was up to 90 degrees, Miami 89 degrees, and Fort Lauderdale tied a record at 88. So the Southwest and also the state of Florida set some records yesterday. Here's a look at the actual highs in the Southwest yesterday. There's your 99-degree reading at the Civic Center in downtown Los Angeles. 56 degrees in Salt Lake City, and much cooler for the Pacific Northwest yesterday afternoon. Looking at the entire country, it was really beginning to cool down throughout the Midwest, but not nearly as bad throughout the eastern seaboard yesterday, especially for New England. 60s for highs, New York City and Boston, and once again, temperatures there running between 5 and about 10 degrees above normal in central and northern New England. Here's your chilly stuff developing throughout the Midwest, where we currently see temperatures in the 20s and 30s. You factor in some of those stronger winds, this is what's happening right now. 9 degrees above zero is your current wind chill in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It actually gets worse as you head back towards the west. Stronger winds, the wind chill goes down to 9 below in Fargo, 8 degrees below zero in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and just 2 above in Des Moines, Iowa. Chicago stands at 23. It's going to be getting worse there as the winds pick up this afternoon, and looks like some more snow heading towards southwestern lower Michigan, too, as we watch for that trough begin to cross Lake Michigan, enhancing some of that snowfall a little bit later on. We've got now your national forecast, and with that, we go back to Vivian.
Okay, the midday hour shows our broad system here across the upper Midwest. Snow, chilly rains will be found from Pittsburgh over to Chicago and back towards St. Louis, Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's all because we have this broad trough of low pressure in the general vicinity. Now, yesterday and over the weekend, we had this surface cold front to clear the eastern seaboard. Much more tranquil weather is being found today. As a matter of fact, in southern Florida, unfortunately, we have had some isolated thunderstorms. So the extreme southern peninsula of Florida, you'll have to watch out. But the rest of the Sunshine State in good shape. Much of the western high plains here. We have been watching a little bit of light rain near the Olympic Peninsula, the extreme far Pacific Northwest here. The rest of the west, though, looking very nice with high pressure, the clockwise winds here, the offshore flow. Those Santa Anas will keep it fairly warm. Again today, the LA Basin after a record high will mention 99 degrees yesterday. Now we'll watch this little warm front as it slides east. That will bring some of the light rain with it over the Dakotas come tomorrow. But that's associated with Pacific air, so the precipitation will be in the form of rain. It's across the upper Midwest that we'll find the most wintry weather over the next 24 hours.
Astrid, looks like roadways across the Midwest could become a little bit greasy today.
That's right, and we'll give you all the details on TravelWise coming up right after your local forecast.
You're buying a car. You know exactly which cars you want and which cars you don't want. But there are still cars out there that you don't know that you do want. Recently, Oldsmobile has come out with so many new models, they might not be on your list yet. They should be. So before you buy, find out all you can. Come to Oldsmobile's 100th anniversary premiere and test one. Or call toll-free to find out.
In an ordinary day, a child's bright laughter fills the air. Your Werther's is his Werther's too, so creamy golden, just plain good. Werther's and that feeling that you never will forget. When one who loves you says to you, you're someone very special.
When you're on the go, get the Weather Channel forecast from these sources. It's the same reliable information you get from us on TV, prepared by our 80 meteorologists. And now your local forecast.
It is about 15 before the hour. Time to check out the traveling conditions for you on this Monday. And we wake up to the national satellite, or the national radar, which shows precipitation here across the mid-Mississippi River Valley, the upper Midwest. We've had reports of snow over the arrowhead of Minnesota. Chicago reporting a burst of snow this morning. We've had some heavier snow around St. Louis. All of that is pivoting east around Belleville, Illinois. And western Kentucky, we have snow. Over the eastern parts of the Bluegrass State, though, it's the chilly rain. And around Greenville and Charleston and West Virginia, we have reports of some light rain this morning and pushing into the Pittsburgh area. Now, this may eventually mix in and change over to some light snow, though. So definitely a wintry scene across much of the upper Midwest. Now, if you're traveling along the New England coast, it looks good today. I know yesterday we had that storm system to move off the shore line, and of course that made for a very troublesome traveling conditions. But today it looks much better. Interstate 95 looking good, even farther south. The coastal areas here of Florida. Much of the southeast in good shape. Interstate 10 from the Panhandle over to New Orleans and Houston. You can ask for better conditions. Watch out, though, the wintry scenario, kind of slushy the arrowhead of Minnesota. No heavy accumulations expected, though. I do want you to know that. And there you see your rainy travel with another system over the Pacific Northwest. I also want you to know about the very windy conditions across so much of the upper Midwest and the Mississippi River Valley. Checking on airports, no delays so far. We'll be right back.
Get your complete weekend forecast. Watch the Weekend Outlook coming up.
So, why do we Aussies like you Yanks so much? Well, in Melbourne, for instance, you like to live it up almost as much as we do. And like us, you get carried away at sporting events. Also, you come expecting surprise.
It's the Craftsman Quick Wrench, exclusively from Sears. The Quick Wrench is a combination wrench with a unique open-end design that makes it work like a ratchet. An ordinary open-end wrench has to be removed and repositioned after every turn. But the Craftsman Quick Wrench stays in continuous contact, making the job faster and easier. And what about those places where a ratchet and socket won't fit? That's where the Quick Wrench really comes in handy. It's made to reach right into tight spaces, and the ratcheting action gets the job done in no time. The Craftsman Quick Wrench can be used almost anywhere, in the garage, in the yard, and in your home. No toolbox is complete without a Quick Wrench set. And because it's a Craftsman hand tool made in America, it's guaranteed forever.
Call now to order your set of 6 Craftsman Quick Wrenches in standard. Only $19.99 plus shipping and handling. Use your Sears card or the credit card and call 1-800-750-2112. Call right now.
Every morning, you need to know what to wear, when to go, and how to get there. Watch the Weather Channel so your plans can go smoothly. Make us part of your morning every morning.
On Earth has better weather.
And we thank you so much for joining us on the Weather Channel. It is about 10 minutes before the hour, and at this time every hour we will bring you the winter weather update. Now, I know at this time every hour we used to bring the tropical update, but because the seasons are changing, we've kind of adjusted our programming accordingly. We do, though, want to point out the latest information that we've received on our typhoon. This is Super Typhoon Keith. It's starting to lose some of its punch, the Mariana Islands here. And you know what? As it moved across the central, the southern Mariana Islands yesterday, it was packing winds in excess of 200 miles an hour. Thus a super typhoon. It brought quite a bit of devastation. We've had reports of over 25,000 people without power over the islands. And Guam, which is right here, the southernmost island, we've only had reports of sporadic power outages. So that's the good news. Guam, the southernmost island, as our system continues to move west. Now, we do anticipate the system to make a sharp turn to the north and then quickly move back off toward the east, back into the open waters of the Pacific. By the way, this is Japan, this is Korea, mainland China here, Vietnam, the Philippines, and of course this being the western Pacific. And we've been watching this typhoon as it moves west, but again, we are expecting it to quickly make a turn to the east, and it should stay well south of mainland Japan here. We'll keep you posted on the latest on Super Typhoon Keith, as it has already brought devastation and destruction to the Mariana Islands here. Okay, now from the tropical situation to the wintry weather, as we've started to shift our focus on the winter scene, getting closer and closer to the official beginning of winter season. And we've been watching this broad trough of low pressure over the upper Midwest, and we have reports of the widespread light snow and snow showers in central Illinois, Indiana, western Ohio, western Kentucky here. All of this pivoting off to the east as we have a counterclockwise flow around it. It's very blustery throughout the area as well. We've had reports of anywhere from 30 to 35 mile-an-hour winds. Wind chills are brutal across the area. If you're traveling these interstates, watch out. No heavy accumulations expected on the roadways, but certainly enough to make for tricky driving conditions. Be careful across this area. Well,
let's take a look at the latest radar screen, and much of what you see in Illinois and extreme western Kentucky is snow this morning. We'll have more on that at the top of the hour. Please stay with us.
My ancestor dreamt of winning the Highlands Open, but his golf wasn't up to par. So he designed a wider golf club for better control of his drive. Surely, wider is better.
Improve your drive with the Wxch Grand Prix Sports Sedan. Its unique Wxch design sets the wheels wider for better control on any course.
My family crest still bears the proverb. Mashleha, Nashat.
The Wxch Grand Prix. Driving excitement by Pontiac. Wider is better.
House or apartment?
House. Dog or cat?
Dog. Kids or no kids?
Kids. Tartar control or white?
White.
Tartar control.
Luckily, now you can have both. Introducing Colgate Tartar Control plus whitening, tartar fighting power, and a whitener. They were made for each other. New Colgate Tartar Control plus whitening.
Do they make super glues hard to use?
On purpose or what?
First they give you this pointy little pin. If you don't do it just right,
You get glue all over your fingers. Or the pin gets glued into the tube.
luckily someone invented this quick tight super glue.
With a really simple design.
So, it opens easy?
Fixes easy. And won't clog up. Stick with something simple.
Quick tight.
We all inhabit a place that frankly gets on our nerves. We gotta get out of that place. And a celebrity cruise can get us out of that place. Celebrity Cruises, exceeding expectations. Awarded 5 stars by Fieldings and the top premium cruise line rating by Berlitz.
Every morning, everywhere, when the sun wakes up the sky, let Folgers be there, open up your eyes. A rich soul stirring through, nothing that wrong cannot do. Waking you and me, waking everyone in harmony. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your car.
In the next half hour, WeatherScope gives you a comprehensive national forecast. At 10 after, TravelWise focuses on today's trouble spots. Next, your weekend outlook and the 5-day planner. Right now, your local forecast.
Weatherscope is sponsored by Genuine Chevrolet, the cars most Americans trust.
This is Weatherscope.
Once again, wintry weather is making its way across the Great Lakes region with cold temperatures and some snow. Good morning and welcome to Weatherscope. I'm Will Annan.
And good morning, I'm Vivian Brown. Snow has been falling in Minnesota this morning. We've had lake effect snow over parts of Michigan, and in between it's been a wet, slushy drive for you in Chicago. Light snow began falling yesterday in St. Paul, Minnesota. Streets quickly became damp and slick. Trees began to take on a whitened appearance. Snow continued into the night, so if you left your car out overnight and you live in southern Minnesota, prepare because you'll probably have to brush some of the snow off of the windshields this morning, as it will make for a treacherous driving driving morning for you across the upper Midwest. Again, around Duluth, Minnesota, International Falls, Hibbing, we've had reports of the snow, and around St. Cloud here in the central part of the state. Minneapolis not reporting the snow, but we do have reports of snow in St. Cloud, or St. Paul, it is. You can see over northern Illinois, over around the Chicago area, a wet, slushy snow has been found. Belleville, Illinois, just south and east of St. Louis. Even the central, the southern parts of Indiana, around Indianapolis and near Evansville, we have snow. Snow over the western parts of Kentucky, even over to Covington. So it's a wintry scene across a good part of the upper Mississippi Valley this morning. You can see how this is moving generally south, and then all of this is curving off toward the east as we have a broad counterclockwise rotation to the precipitation. The winds here had a push of light rain, chilly rain over eastern Ohio around Cleveland this morning and Charleston, West Virginia. So a lot of this is rain, but all the way here we're talking snow showers. A little farther north, a different perspective shows the snow over the upper peninsula of Michigan. It's all because we have the general trough of low pressure over this region. So if you have travel plans in the area, watch out for the bursts of snow showers. No heavy accumulations expected, but certainly enough to make for tricky and slushy driving conditions this morning. Now, aside from the snow showers, it'll be very blustery today. Winds generally out of the north and northwest in excess of 20 and 30 miles an hour over the upper Midwest. So quite wintry, and those wind chills are brutal across the area. Broad trough of low pressure here, making it feel like winter over the east. And with that winter scenario, we talk about a messy time of it, the cyclonic flow here, just the counterclockwise rotation, that cold air being poured southward. So watch out across much of the upper Midwest. Across the west, though, we have a big ridge of high pressure, and here we have a clockwise flow, so the offshore winds in Southern California, talking about a hot day shaping up in Southern California. Mid-90s expected today after a record set yesterday in Southern California, some 99 degrees in LA. And with more details on that, here's Will.
Okay, Vivian, once again, those offshore winds will help keep the heat on one more day for Southern California, but temperatures there will begin to ease. If you live in the Midwest, different story. Strong northerly winds will mean wind chills sub-zero, at least until early this afternoon. We'll show you where coming up in just a couple of more minutes. I'll show you what's going on as far as records. We saw a lot of those set yesterday in Southern California. Here's a look at some of those, which did include Burbank, California at 102. The Civic Center in downtown LA, 99 degrees. Pasadena was up to 97 degrees for a brand new record. And there were some records also set in the state of Florida. Hollywood, 90 degrees. Miami, 89 degrees. And Fort Lauderdale tied a record at 88. Back to the west we go. We'll show you what happened there. And you can see we were looking at some of those high temperatures in the mid to upper 90s, close to 100 degrees in Southern California. Those Santa Ana winds today will be much weaker, which means the inland areas will be looking at still some hot weather. But near the coast itself, probably not as warm today, as the Santa Ana winds will be a little bit weaker. That's going to allow that marine layer to move inland a little bit faster and earlier in the course of the day. Let's show you what's happening as far as high temperatures across the entire country yesterday. Rather balmy across the southern tier of states and up the eastern seaboard. Look at 67 degrees in Burlington, Vermont, 66 in New York City and Boston. So looking at temperatures there, some 5 to 10 degrees above average for this time of the year. But there's your chilly stuff, 5 or 10 degrees below average throughout the Midwest, including Chicago, Des Moines, and Minneapolis. And looking at the current numbers right now, looking at temperatures in the upper 20s to the lower 30s. Factor in the winds, it gets a little bit cooler than that. It feels more like 2 in Des Moines, Iowa, but it feels more like 9 to 8 degrees below zero, close to 10 below both at Fargo and Sioux Falls, South Dakota, just 9 degrees above zero at Minneapolis, St. Paul. We think that number around Chicago at 23 will be dropping, with the winds picking up a little bit later on as this area of low pressure in this trough begins to work its way on towards the east this afternoon into Indiana and much of the state of Michigan, too. We're checking your good morning forecast right now. We'll begin by looking at, first of all, the midday weather map. And you can see low pressure is going to be moving eastward very, very slowly over towards Traverse City, Michigan. Still over much of the Badger State and much of the state of Illinois and Indiana, it's going to be light snow and not light rain beginning to fall. Could be a little bit of rainfall around Pittsburgh, which may hang around to later on this afternoon. Most of the rest of the country basically dry. Early morning tomorrow, some of this precipitation is going to be heading towards New England, mostly in the form of rain showers. And definitely it's going to be a cloudier day tomorrow for the Northeast. How much rain is going to fall? Just about anything precipitation-wise will be very, very light. And snowfall, we do expect some heavier bursts of snow, maybe in southwestern lower Michigan this afternoon near the lake, because lake snow advisories have been issued there. And those forecast highs, 20s and 30s in the Midwest, but chilly 30s all the way down to near the Gulf Coast by early morning tomorrow.
So many of the highways and byways perhaps becoming snow-covered today.
And we'll have the latest coming up on TravelWise after your local forecast.
There are two sides to every Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo. The side you show the world is up to you.
Some people believe the world is getting smaller. At United Van Lines, we believe the world is still the same size. We just help to make it easier to get around. Let United show you how making a move to another country is a lot like making a move to another block. The same quality service that helped make us America's #1 mover has also made us one of the world's leading movers with over 1,000 agents worldwide. United Van Lines. Quality moves around the world.
United Van Lines is celebrating its 50th anniversary with a Golden Anniversary Special. For more information, contact an authorized United agent. You'll find one in the Yellow Pages.
Whether you're catching a flight or commuting to work, weather can affect your plans. Watch TravelWise mornings at 10 and 40 after the hour for potential trouble spots.
Elbows are aching. Well, it has some validity to it as changes in atmospheric pressure kind of flares up the pain indices, and that's what we're finding, a broad trough of low pressure over the Great Lakes in the upper Mississippi Valley this morning. Now, maybe enough to take your breath away, too, with those very gusty winds across Minnesota, Iowa, and actually extending farther south. So no problems with air stagnation on this Monday. Stay with us. The forecast for the end of the week coming up next.
This is the human vertebrae, and this is the ant. You have many human vertebrae. The ant does not. Yet the ant can lift 50 times its own weight. You cannot. Thus, you get backaches. The ant does not, which is why you need DeWitt's pills. The ant does not. DeWitt's pills, the affordable back remedy trusted by millions for over 75 years.
DeWitt's Pills, the affordable backache remedy trusted by millions for over 75 years.
You Americans work too hard.
If you ask me, you could use a holiday in a place it's made for. Australia.
Well, summer's in December, just when you need it the most. For the winter, though, you need to throw in something a little warmer.
Man, 2 weeks can fill a deal like the stories. So why don't you pop on down? There's plenty of room. For a free Australian travel planner, ring us at 1-800-DOWN-UNDER.
Hey, it's not as far as you think.
You like driving along. You get the big hunk, but you've only got a little quarter. You spot a mom and pop. You stop 'em. Ah-ha-ha. Lots of little Debbie's single packs. So many to pick from. So little time.
Brooks Brothers' latest eyewear. Tailored in about an hour. At LensCrafters, the Brooks Brothers event. On now at LensCrafters.
Okay, it's time now to check out the forecast for the end of the week into the weekend. You know, we always look at the jet stream because the jet stream is a representation of the fastest winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And actually, those fast winds in the upper levels steer systems at the surface. And also, it's a good indication of where we'll find the cooler air. Everywhere north of the jet stream, typically you'll find cooler air, but south of it, it'll remain fairly mild. So that means another warm day today across the southwest and perhaps lingering until tomorrow. But I'll tell you what, the cool scenario stays in place over the Great Lakes tomorrow in the upper Mississippi Valley. And then by the end of the week, a deeper trough of low pressure develops along the eastern seaboard. And we're talking about a wet time of it along the east coast. Let's start off with the afternoon highs. We're forecasting tomorrow, though. Below average, 50s here. Typically, we should find temperatures in the mid-60s, I'd say, around Atlanta, even over to Huntsville, Alabama. So a little cooler than average with that trough of low pressure. But notice your 70s over Texas and Oklahoma, and still quite warm, the deserts of the southwest. You'll find the wet weather up and down the eastern seaboard on Friday, as perhaps a possible coastal storm will develop along the east coast over the weekend. We'll keep you updated. Weekend highlights.
Watch our El Nino focus beginning at 8 p.m. in WeatherScope only on the Weather Channel.
Every day. Express mail packages the next day. Sundays and holidays.
This is WeatherScope.
Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Channel. I'll tell you, man, you go take a few days off, and it's like the whole tongue comes around.
This is WeatherScope.
It is Monday. You're watching the Weather Channel. Thanks for joining us for this edition of WeatherScope. I'm Lacey Moser. We're looking for some more snow. It's been light towards Chicago, heavy towards lower southwestern Michigan.
Yeah, it looks like we're setting up a snow band, Lisa, that doesn't want to quit anytime soon. And it's out there in pretty much southwestern and western lower Michigan. That's the area. Allegan County seems to be getting hit pretty hard around the town of Saugatuck, Michigan. And we're going to try to go there. All right, we have our crew now. We have for you in Allegan County, Michigan. We have Kristen Dodd standing by. Kristen, what have you found in your travels there in western lower Michigan?
Well, we have found much more snow in the past hour. We have traveled about 5 miles to the south, and we are now standing on the shoreline of Lake Michigan, and you can see that behind me. And the snow really has been coming down. We are in Ganges Township, which is in Allegan County, about 5 miles south from where we have been throughout the morning. And this is where we have seen some of the heavier snow bands that have been sweeping across Lake Michigan. And we have had reports as much as 8 inches of snow having fallen in this general area. And you can see some of that below me here, as we do have it kind of piling up. It's kind of hard to get an exact reading of how much snow we do have because it's very wet and very heavy, and so it's compacting as it's beginning to hit the ground. But as we walk across, you can see what else is also happening, and that is that it's melting in many locations. Check out some of this as we have very soggy conditions on the roadways. We've had reports of some accidents here, And as we come across the roadway here, we have been getting the cars coming through, and they are being very cautious because not only are the roads quite slick and slushy, we also are getting a lot of this wet snow piling up on the trees, and we've had many reports of the trees coming down, blocking some of the roadways. We've even gotten stuck a bit in some of the heavier snowfall. So this small band, a localized area, definitely feeling the brunt of this storm. Back to you.
All right, Kristen Dodd reporting from Allegan County, Michigan. Thank you very much, and she'll keep us apprised much of the daytime today, see how this all plays out. The good news is around the bigger cities in the Great Lakes, though, things are in much better shape, including Chicago as well as in Detroit, where we just have light rain going on for the time being. Let's show you what's happening on our weather map now, and there's our big vortex of low pressure, if you will. And again, that is a great big low, very dominant player, running from Fargo, North Dakota, down to Little Rock, Arkansas. Big pinwheel, there's your center point right there over the Chicagoland area. Let's take you on in and see what's happening as we can rotate through. You can see that curl showing up right about in here. And Kristen, by the way, is right about here near Saugatuck in Allegan County, Michigan, not far from the city of Grand Rapids. But again, the sphere of influence being felt all the way down through St. Louis. We've had light snow this morning, about 35 degrees. There's an inch of snow on the ground now in Des Moines, checking in. Right there about 31 degrees, so take it easy around I-80 and I-35. Some light snow around Chicago. What is out there, though, to emphasize, very, very light. Some of that not even reaching the ground. As you can see, it shows up on the radar. Now, there is some snow down through the areas around Champaign-Urbana and up to about Danville and Kankakee, but Chicago should be okay for a while. Allegan County, right about there. Boy, talk about being in the right place at the right time, or I guess the wrong place at the wrong time. That is where we are. That's our crew right there in Allegan County. Into Michigan and take east, actually, into western PA. Some rain showers, even around Bradford, too warm for snow. What is out there heading northbound? Chicagoland, again, some light snow down towards Peoria and south of Kankakee. So the city, the Chicagoland area, should be okay for a while. Take it down into Kentucky and Tennessee. Cold air rotating in now. And by the way, it's going to get colder still, I think, behind that trough. But already 40 degrees and raining at Crossville, Tennessee. Had some rain last hour in Louisville, Kentucky. Temperature in the very low 40s. And even reported a 1-inch snowpack now on top of Mount LeConte in the Smoky Mountain National Park, right about in here. So watch out Knoxville, watch out Nashville. Some cold rain, maybe mixing with a little snow on I-40 there in the high terrain coming up later on today. Pretty nice. Atlanta back towards Dallas. And then southward bound, the only fly in the ointment. Still some showers stuck on the Florida Bay. Cloudy in Miami. May see some rainfall later on as that is all tracking towards the northeast at about 20 miles per hour. Quick check in the west. We have a lot of clouds, a lot of high clouds here, and even some fog trapped in some of the valleys, including the Willamette and the Rogue Valley. Southern Cal, though, looking at another very, very warm day. Lisa.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad, but that fly in the ointment hopefully won't be in the forecast. Do something about that, Bill Keneally. Let's take a look at some very warm temperatures. We've had that offshore flow across the southern parts of California. Burbank, yesterday's high temperature, 102. It's a new record. Also a record at the LA Civic Center at 99. Long Beach, 98, new record. Looking down towards Pasadena, just to name a few more, 97 in Oregon Pike. Also looking at a tie, 94. Talk about warm. Well, we had a cold front to push through yesterday. It was kind of weak by the time it got to the Big Island of Hawaii, but we did see the temperatures come down a little bit more. We expect them to slowly see a southward wind come back into play, and we'll see temperatures warming back up into the mid and upper 80s. They give it another day. Speaking of chilly, well, we take a look across Alaska, where Anchorage is reporting 31, but the wind chills are making the temperatures feel about 10 degrees colder. Looking at the low temperatures this morning, this is why the snow is so wet up around the Midwest. We're seeing temperatures around 30. We started off with 33 degrees in Chicago. That was the morning low temperature. One of the things we're going to continue to see is that colder air coming a little further south. We still have this big trough in our long wave pattern. We're seeing a little bit of a dip here in our ridge. That's going to allow another system coming in from the Pacific, clouding up our skies out towards Seattle and Spokane. We're likely to see some rain showers with that cloud cover. Looking at our temperatures right now, this hour, 37 degrees in Chicago, 75 in Miami. Looking at Raleigh-Durham, currently 65 degrees, a little warmer out towards the west. 83 degrees right now in San Diego. We are likely to see a few more 90s today in that southwest corner. Should be pretty nice. Bill?
All right, Lisa, let's talk about that forecast now. We've got a lot of time, so we can really dissect it and slice it and dice it for you. Low pressure moving across upper Michigan at this hour near the Marquette area. The other primary low is down here over Columbus, Ohio later on today. And right now we've had predominantly rain falling around Detroit and down towards Columbus, Ohio, Louisville, Kentucky. But once that low goes by, it'll tug just enough cold air down to allow for that phase change. So any kind of light liquid falling will likely eventually turn over to light snowfall. Travel could be a little slick in some of the highlands there in western Ohio, for instance. As far as back east goes, we're still looking pretty good. It's pretty warm, actually. We're in the 60s all the way to Bangor, Maine, 63 in Manchester, New Hampshire, and pushing 70 right now, believe it or not, on this third day of November in Salisbury, Maryland. But once again, inevitably colder air coming in as that low sweeps up towards Rochester, trailing trough low pressure, allowing for some snowfall tonight. And again, this is even a Lake Plume, if you will, heading down into northern West Virginia and kind of getting caught by the Laurel Highlands there, downwind of Pittsburgh, PA. Already some warming on the horizon. Bear with it, Denver. It's going to get a whole lot better, and Lord knows you guys earned it. South Florida, still a chance of a few showers. Not a whole lot of heavy rain, though. And as far as high pressure goes, it looks good. It's going to be nice. Any snowpack that builds up should stick around. It should be a real pretty day tomorrow up there around Sugar and Beach Mountain in western North Carolina. As far as the rain goes, Ohio Valley cities, Ashland, Huntington, Parkersburg, could see a quarter to a tenth of an inch. Some snow turning to rain west of the Cascades. As far as snows go, not a whole lot. We're talking about generally a 1 to 3 inch snowfall.
This is WeatherScope.
Well, thanks for joining us here at the Weather Channel for this edition of WeatherScope. I'm Lisa Moser along with Bill Keneally. We're watching the snow coming down in southwestern Michigan. It brings back memories for me because I was up at Sagatuck, Michigan, and that's the area that's getting pretty hard hit right now.
Were you there on the 3rd of November?
No, it was more like the 3rd of July.
Yeah, I think there were a lot more people there, too.
Yeah.
But I want you to know, we've got the perfect perch. Lisa, let's talk to Lisa. No, we're going to go to Kristen now. I take that back. And again, we do have a Weather Channel crew in southwestern Allegan County, Michigan. Kristen Dodd is there. Kristen, you're from Florida, I think. What do you think about this kind of weather?
Yeah, a big change. I'm afraid my blood has thinned out a bit, so I'm a little bit colder than the rest of the crew. But actually, it's not too bad right now. The temperature is really hovering right around that freezing mark, and conditions have improved over the past half hour. Earlier, we were seeing the snow coming down quite heavily, and we have the evidence of that right here on the ground, and you can see how it has been piling up. We've had reports in this area as much as 8 inches of snow, and it's kind of hard to get a true reading on that right now because it's very heavy and very wet, and so it's compacting as it continues to kind of pile on up. It's also melting as well, and you can see a lot of that here with the slush that's continuing on the roadways. It's really a big mess here. We are in Ganges Township, actually just to the west of that, on Pier Cove, right on Lake Michigan, and we are now about 5 miles to the south of where we were earlier this morning, where Lisa mentioned that she had been in July, and of course up there the snow has also been coming down. Now behind me you can see how the snow has been very heavy on some of the trees, bending down the limbs, and also some of those limbs have been falling on the power lines. And we do have reports actually just beyond this corner, a very large tree has come down in the past half hour, knocked down the power lines. So at this point, we're kind of stuck here for a while. We're not going anywhere because all the trees are way too heavy, bending down over the roadways, and they're too low for our satellite truck to get through. So we're going to kind of be hanging out here for the afternoon. Bill?
That was my next question, Kristen. It looks as though there's still some foliage on those trees, so I'm sure the added burden of the snow sticking to all those leaves is definitely not helping matters in the area.
Well, that's true. A lot of the leaves are still on the trees. The folks around here have been saying that the season has extended very late you know, on into November, and they really are in the peak season of a lot of their color, and that has not helped matters at all. The snow has really been weighting down a lot of the trees, and if you stand very quietly periodically, you can hear the trees falling off into the woods, and you can just stand here long enough, you're going to see one come down.
All right, thank you, Kristen Dowd. Hopefully you have hard hats for the whole crew there dealing with the falling limbs in western lower Michigan. Let's take a look and see what's going on now around the entire Great Lakes area. Great big low pressure wielding quite a sphere of influence, if you will. And I can vouch for Kristen. I was up there on the south end of Lake Erie in the Cleveland area about 11 days ago, and up there they were still not at peak foliage, and that was again around Cleveland, Ohio, a week ago last Thursday. So I can relate to what you're saying about the foliage season has been extended quite a bit out here on the western shore of lower Michigan, right about and through here. Check out all the cloud cover, though, extending all the way down Little Rock, Tupelo, Huntsville, Rome, Georgia. From there northbound, basically sunshine at a premium today. Look at the center of low pressure right there over lower Lake Michigan, right about in here. Kristen, incidentally, right there, right around southwestern Allegan County. And as she mentioned, there are a lot of power lines down and a lot of low-hanging branches in the area. And the heavier lake effect snow is just to their south, so I would imagine a little bit, maybe 5 miles south, the situation is even worse. Well, there's your culprit. Low pressure stacked up in the atmosphere, surface low, and directly above that, the upper low. Still the snows in Minnesota, cutting down towards Illinois and now Indiana. We've had some periodic light snow in South Bend as well as in Fort Wayne. The worst of it, though, looking like it's down towards Kokomo now and getting over by the areas south of Fort Wayne. I think that's I-69. Some snows down towards Danville, Illinois. A little bit of snow back around Toma, Wisconsin, but mostly things have improved markedly from yesterday. What we're seeing on the Pittsburgh radar is pretty much all rain east of Pittsburgh, Kittanning, running up towards Oil City and Chautauqua County in Jamestown, New York, even around the area southwest of Cleveland, getting, for the most part, rainfall. Some snow south of Peoria, Illinois now, running down into the areas around central Illinois. We extend our coverage into Kentucky and Tennessee, and pretty much the cutoff is the Ohio Valley. However, we've had some snow mixed in at times. It's about 35 right now and snowing in Paducah, Kentucky. Paducah, right about here, had rain and snow mixed last hour. Chilly rains falling on 24 now from Clarksville, Tennessee, into Nashville, and eastward on 40. Watch out. Rain will likely turn over to snow by this evening around Crossville, up here on the plateau. That is the Cumberland Plateau. One more check of one more radar. Still that front kind of hung up in the Florida Straits, bringing with it a risk of rain again later on today, but it should be light rain in Miami. Quick check on the west. We have a lot of fair skies, high pressure ruling the roost, and it looks like we'll keep a very warm day going in Southern California. And for more on that, here's Lisa.
Oh, yeah, Bill. The big question will be, will there be more record high temperatures like what we saw yesterday across Southern California? Let's take a look at some of those record highs. Burbank, California, 102, the afternoon high on Sunday. In Long Beach, it was 98. That's a new record also. And in Pasadena, California, 97. Don't have time to name them all. We had a frontal boundary that was pushing across the Pacific, and we had some rain and some clouds that come in across the big island of Hawaii. So we're looking at temperatures a little bit below normal for the time of the year. 82 degrees in Honolulu was the high yesterday. Show you a few cool temperatures where the wind chill is making the temperatures feel even colder. Anchorage, 31 degrees. McGrath looking at 9, yesterday's high temperature. Take a look at today, the morning low temperatures, and the reason why the snow is so very wet out in the Midwest is because the temperatures are not quite cold enough to keep it dry. 33 was the morning low in Chicago. Right now the temperatures are up a bit. We're going to continue to watch our long wave pattern, however, which is going to allow some of that colder air to come as far south as the Tennessee Valley. You'll notice that tonight. Be prepared for it, okay? The temperatures will continue to ease south in and around that northwesterly flow behind the front, a more southerly push ahead of the front. The current temperature in Chicago, 37 degrees. Looking at South Bend right now, 36 degrees. And so we have light snow falling, but it is very, very wet. That's going to continue. We're looking at the very warm temperatures this hour across Southern California, already in the 80s. Now, the forecast is going to allow those temperatures again today to reach into the 90s. One of the reasons being, because we have this very southeasterly flow coming in behind our high pressure system. Our ridge is breaking down just a little bit to the north, and so we're seeing more and more cloud cover come in across Spokane, Seattle. mostly cloud cover, but we are expecting more light rain showers in the vicinity. As we head into tomorrow, this system is going to be our next big rainmaker. It'll be diving southward. Still a lot of energy yet to develop with it, but eventually we are going to see a more southerly flow ahead of it. And as it pushes to the east, this is going to be the next rainmaker for the southeast. You'll notice that the heaviest rain amounts will continue to be ahead of the frontal boundary with that southerly flow. Temperatures a little bit warmer in places like Charleston, West Virginia, but a very wet go. In the high elevations in the Appalachians, we can see some light snow accumulate, but again, very wet snow. The leeward sides of the lake looking for 3 to 6 more inches today. And the cold temperatures will keep the snow on the ground tonight, but during the daytime hours we will see significant amounts of melting going on, just not quite cold enough to see the snow any drier than what we're currently looking at. This edition of WeatherScope is sponsored by Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road.
This is WeatherScope.
And thanks for joining us. This edition of WeatherScope, we're so glad that you tuned into the Weather Channel. I'm Lisa Moser, along with Bill Keneally. We've been watching a lot of snow falling in the southwestern area of Michigan. You know, it's the favorite lee sides of the lake that are getting hit pretty good. Chicago has been light. Indianapolis has been light.
And it's hard to believe water temperatures in Lake Michigan still hovering around 50 degrees, but you throw cold air in. The cold air about a mile up, Lisa, running at about 25 degrees right now. And that differential, 25 to, say, 54 degrees, very, very unstable air, and there's enough cold air to keep it all snowed just downwind of Lake Michigan.
I'll tell you what else is kind of impressive for the Midwest, and that's the wind chills. The winds have been a bit gusty.
They're pretty ugly out there, too, and they're not going to get a whole lot better, folks. Tell you what, let's go to Kristen Dodd now, Lisa. And Kristen is our Johnny on the spot today, and she's in the right place at the right time to give us a nice, pretty Courier knife scene there in Allegan County, Michigan. How's it looking right now, Kristen?
Well, it's not looking too bad as far as what is happening at this moment. It's a bit breezy, and, of course, temperatures are cool, hovering right around that freezing mark. The snow has tapered down. We do have a little bit of very wet drizzle and also perhaps a few flurries flying. But earlier we did have the heavier snowfall, and it really was coming down here, and it's continuing to be in the forecast for the next several hours. You can see here on the ground how it has been coming down, and it's been adding up quickly. We've had reports up to 8 inches of snow. It's a very wet and very heavy snowfall. And that is what we are seeing as the big problem right now. And you can see behind me we have the clouds that are coming through, and we do expect to see a few more of these snow bands to sweep past our area. Not good news for folks who live on these roads right along Lake Michigan, and not really good news for us as well. And I'll walk over here and show you why. Our satellite truck is parked here behind me, and you can see the tall dish that's on top of that. Now, granted, that does fold down, but the truck is very, very high, and that does cause some problems as we're going to head up and down these roadways here because of the very heavy snow. A lot of the power lines are draped very low across the road, and many of the trees are just down, and the satellite truck is going to have a hard time trying to get past some of those areas, and so we are waiting for some crews to clear the roadways and repair some of those power lines. Most of the folks along this roadway are without power at this time here in Pier Cove. Back to you.
All right, Kristen Dodd, thank you very much. Kristen reporting from Allegan County, Michigan, in southwestern lower Michigan. Again, that's the nature of the beast right now. Heavy, wet snow. It's early November, and that's taking on trees and power lines. Folks, as Kristen alluded to, take it easy out there today, and especially tonight. Let's take a look at our satellite picture now, see what's going on out here. We continue to see an awful lot in the way of cloud cover, and believe me, that cloud cover has quite a sphere of influence, we'll say. Again, the low pressure running the show is right there over Chicago. We have clouds all the way from Jamestown, North Dakota, to about Pine Bluff, Arkansas, to about Anniston, Alabama, then running north into the Appalachians. And it's going to be a slow rotation, but eventually get the colder air and the moisture in the mountain areas in the mountains of West Virginia and North Carolina, especially expecting snowfall by this evening. And some of that snow could be heavy for a while. Again, you can see a spin of low pressure right here. Kristen right about in there. See a little gray band setting up right over her. And there's a lake-induced trough low pressure out there because the warm water's out there, a little kink in the isobaric pattern. That's going to keep that band, I think, right over where Kristen is for quite a while. The worst of it, by the way, just to her south. But as she said, there are problems traveling out there, and our satellite truck is up there at about 20 feet if you factor in the satellite dish itself, so it's very hard traversing southbound. But safe to say, the worst of it is just south of the southwestern corner of Allegan County, Michigan. Some rain in Ohio, some snow around areas north of Indianapolis and well south of Chicago. Another little band of snow out there between La Crosse, Wisconsin and Tomah this hour. There's your rainfall east of Pittsburgh. Some of the rain kind of heavy, actually. I wouldn't be surprised to hear about some rumbles of thunder out here around Altoona, PA this hour. In addition, we have the snow south of Chicago, and we're talking well south now. Earlier, Chicago had some light snowfall. What is out there now is falling very, very lightly, if at all. Down through Kentucky and Tennessee, pretty much it is a rain event. Some of the rain looking pretty nasty now, cutting in from, about Logan County, West Virginia, all the way down to about the Tri-Cities area, Tennessee. And again, that's all rain now. But if you are traveling east of Nashville tonight over to Knoxville and Morristown, Tennessee, take it easy on I-40. I suspect we're going to find some snow around Crossville before the day is out. South Florida, the front still hung up, and with that, still a few showers. Nothing real heavy, nothing like yesterday. Offshore flow in Southern California, onshore flow in Washington. A lot of clouds and some rain around Seattle, but still another bona fide beach day in Southern California. Lisa?
Oh, yeah, you can't buy weather that we are experiencing in the southern parts of California, Bill. We take a look back from yesterday, Sunday, the weekend. We saw more record high temperatures in Burbank, California, 102 Long Beach, not far behind, 98 degrees Pasadena, California. Also, a new record for yesterday's high temperature of 97 degrees. Out in the Pacific, we've been watching a frontal boundary, kind of weak, but it did push through the big island of Hawaii, and the temperatures came down about 5 degrees. The afternoon high temperature for Honolulu was 82 degrees. We're going to expect a southerly flow to return to Honolulu, and that'll push those temperatures back into the mid and upper 80s. We're looking at some cold temperatures also across Alaska. Yesterday's high in Fairbanks, only 21, but the wind chill made the temperatures feel about 10 to 20 degrees colder. Starting out this morning, Monday morning in Chicago, 33, the morning low temperature. That's why what snow we did see fall and kind of melt once it made contact with the surface. But it's sticking just to the west of there. Detroit looking at 34 degrees. And as you get up near northern Minnesota, it's still pretty chilly. Temperature right now in the 30s, but we started out with a morning low of 26 degrees. Looking at our trough and our long wave pattern, that's going to allow that colder air to continue to flow southward into the Tennessee Valley area tonight. Notice we have a little bit of a dip in our trough here. That's allowed that system to come in to Washington State, and the cloud cover has been more plentiful than the rainfall. However, we are seeing some rain showers in and around Seattle. It's a bit wet there, as Bill has already noted. Looking at those temperatures continuing to come a little further south. Let's take a look at the current temperature. 39 in Chicago. Looking at Cincinnati right now, 40 degrees. And out in Seattle, under cloudy skies with the rain showers currently, 54 degrees. The wind chill, let's take a look. We're seeing temperatures, International Falls, in the single digits. It feels like 4 degrees outside. Waterloo, Iowa, looking at 5, and Des Moines, Iowa, looking at 5, and it feels like 32 in Chicago. We'll expect those wind chills to have an effect on the Great Lakes probably tonight. Bill?
All right, Lisa, as they say, misery-loving company.
Shampoo? Well, imagine having that feeling all over your body. Introducing new Herbal Essences Body Wash from Clairol.
Jane, what are we doing tonight?
Sorry, Jake, washing my hair.
Now that women have discovered Clairol's Herbal Essences, they've all got better things to do.
Yes! Yes!
Herbal Essences, a totally organic experience.
1-800-COLLECT presents Max Jerome, Private Eye.
What's up, man?
Shampoo?
Winds coming in across Minnesota because our low pressure center is going to be drifting to the east overnight, and that's going to lighten up these strong winds. And they're not as bad as they were yesterday. Yesterday we were talking about wind gusts around 50 miles per hour occasionally across Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas. Right now we're only talking about winds between 20 and 30 miles per hour. Occasionally maybe a little bit higher, but do give yourself that extra drive time if you're traveling east or west across the Dakotas into Minnesota, even Missouri. Look out, the northerly winds make that steering a little bit difficult at times. Well, the snow is lowering visibility, so watch out Green Bay. If you're headed up towards Marquette, temperatures are dropping, and so we look for a lot more of the snow to be blowing around, and that's going to lower visibility also. Down towards Fort Wayne, we're seeing rain showers. Cleveland, also some rain showers. We're going to continue to watch the favorite lee side of the lake in Allegan County. The snow expected to accumulate another 3 to 6 inches overnight tonight. So we've got some heavy snow coming down on our favorite lee sides of the lake. Rain showers moving across the Appalachians overnight tonight. We're going to see some light snow there in the higher elevation. So look out if you're doing some travel on I-40 or I-77 south. It'll be a bit difficult at times as you head into Virginia, the West Virginia vicinity, into the Carolinas. We're looking at some rain that has been a bit heavy at times west of Philadelphia. We'll be telling you more about this rain. Don't go away.